G'day cocktail lovers. I got a new spirit from my favourite local whiskey distillery, Starward. Now it's called Co-Ferment. It doesn't really have a name like whiskey, brandy, etc. because it doesn't match the definitions of those. Starward traditionally just make whiskies, and they did this experiment, and they started this experiment like 7 years ago. And the idea was the base was grape juice and also the malt that you would make whiskey with. So the base was essentially half what you would make brandy from and half what you would make whiskey from. And they've distilled that and then aged that for around 6 years. They even give me a little pamphlet. It was half time in ex-red wine French oak barrels and half the time in ex-red wine American oak barrels. And a little bit of trivia, the French oak ones came straight from a winery in Australia, and they emptied the wine and then put the spirit straight in. But the American oak barrels were a bit older, and so they had to sort of refresh them. It's like re-charring the barrels. They smoothed it down inside and then re-charred it. So two quite different styles of barrels. They've bottled this at 46% ABV. It's just over 90 proof, and they say it has an aroma of blackberries, cinnamon, vanilla, and has wine flavors. And I have tasted this. It definitely, the wine characteristics come through. Fig, blackcurrant, vanilla, brandy characters, and then drawing out to a malty, whiskey-ish finish, which I would actually go along with. I'm really bad with the words that people use to describe spirits, so I'm really glad when they provide some for me. I thought immediately upon tasting this and knowing it was essentially half brandy, half whiskey to be its whole new thing. I needed to make a Sazerac with it, because some people make a Sazerac with brandy, some make it with whiskey. Australians famously like to make it with a split of brandy and whiskey. So it seemed obvious to me, make a version of a Sazerac with this spirit, and this is it. And I'm going in for my first taste. This is the first time I've used this in a cocktail. Oh, and like Sazeracs always said, that's fantastic. I'll show you how I made it. Before I show you, I'll give a brief explanation. A Sazerac traditionally has just a hint of absinthe in it. People achieve that in a number of different ways. Some people put a few drops of absinthe in the drink. Some people do an absinthe rinse on the glass. Some use a spritzer. I'm doing a variant of a rinse on the glass, but I'm not tipping it out. Rinse usually means putting absinthe in the glass, swirling it around and tipping it out. No, we wanted to chill this glass because traditionally you don't have ice when you serve the Sazerac. And I thought that's the ideal opportunity. I'm going to fill the glass with ice and pour a bit of the absinthe over the top of that. The ice will melt a little, will dilute the absinthe, you'll get that looshing effect, the cloudiness, and then I'm going to have it on the side as a follow-up shot. So this is how I made it. Starting with the glass full of ice, I poured on about half an ounce, 15 mils of absinthe and let that sit. Now the ingredients for the cocktail, starting with 2.5 ounces or 75 mils of the Starward spirit, and then I'm doing half an ounce or 15 mils of sugar syrup and 4 dashes of Peychaud's bitters. Now I strain the absinthe out of the glass that I'm going to serve the drink in, and it's on the side as a shot, and then I'm using that ice to stir the cocktail. Stirring it for a good 25, even 30 seconds. This is a very boozy drink, and I want it nice and chilled and a bit of dilution doesn't go astray. And then I'm straining it back into the chilled rocks glass. And so we have the Sazerac, and this has worked really well in a Sazerac, and an absinthe chaser. So I'm happy, but this is a sort of in moderation drink, boozy AF, and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it. I hope you're enjoying yourself wherever you are, and I do hope to see you again sometime soon. Until I do, I will say, cheers.